Hello, fans, and welcome to this week's edition of the Tiger Women's Basketball Report. I'm your host, Ben Rosenbaum, and as always, joined by the head coach of the Tigers, Laura Harper. And Coach, a busy week last week, a little bit slower this one, but either way, still basketball to be played, and thanks for taking some time for us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
So let's rewind. You got a chance to go back to your old stomping grounds at Maryland. A real tough showing from the Tigers. I think a lot of people were, from Maryland side, a little surprised that, considered last year's game, and then brand new squad come out losing 88-70, India Johnson 23, Talia Shepard 20 points. Just talk about your team and being able to go in there, not be afraid of the bright lights, and put on a good showing in College Park.
Of course. One, it's always good to go back to Maryland, and Brenda's just extremely welcoming. But to have 6 seniors and 2 juniors, I think it shows in those kind of atmospheres of we are fearless. And we know that our backs were a little bit up against the wall versus Maryland, but for us to have the second half that we did, to win that half and to force Maryland into 22 turnovers, we were extremely proud of our effort.
Yeah, when you look at your season this far, your schedule this far, you play down in Blacksburg against Virginia Tech, an ACC school, then you play Maryland, and you have a great first half against Virginia Tech, then a strong showing against Maryland. What do you hope the kids get from that when they go and say, hey, we can go toe-to-toe with these quote-unquote power schools, and you can come out with a lot of experience from that?
Of course. I think there's just so much power in the process, and I think just as I've had a few more years becoming a head coach, I think it's just reminding them of the goal is to be great in March, and what can we take from each of these games to become a better version of ourselves.
So then you finish up with the Terps, come back home, crosstown rival Coppin State, coming into town in a hard-fought win for the Tigers. 3 Tigers in double digits. Before we get to that, though, Kayla Morris, 6 blocks. She's now number 1 in the country in total blocks with 18. And this is something we knew about Kayla when she came to Towson. She was a block machine, and now she's starting to emerge again. Just talk to us about Kayla and what she's able to do defensively.
Of course. Kayla is extremely close to my heart, just knowing her since she was 15 years old, coaching her at Montford Academy. And she's always had a knack for the basketball and shot blocking. And she's also got quite the vertical jump. I think she's maybe second on the team to India Johnson. So not only is she long, she can also jump. It's a nice combination for us.
And then offensively for the Tigers, 3 Tigers in double digits. Tilda Shukvis, Vicky Matulovic, Oli Khalil, Vicky Rookie of the Week this year for the CAA. And we've talked a little bit about this, the depth of this team. And, you come to the press conference after a game. It could be any other player sitting next to you, and we could just kind of shuffle the deck. What is that like for you to know that you can either put out your starting 5, turn to the bench, and you're going to get a lift from somewhere on this roster?
I think it reminds me of my championship team playing at Maryland, and I think there was so much power to whoever's night it was that night. We had 4 players in double figures. There was just so much power of feeding the hot hand and knowing that the depth was what, was our strength, and how do you game plan against a team that's as deep as we were at Maryland, and hopefully we can be here at Towson too.
Let's talk a little bit about the Rookie of the Week. Vicky Matulovic was 4 for 4 from beyond the arc. I mean, she's got a crafty kind of game. She can score outside, she can score inside. She's tough going after loose balls and rebounds. Just tell us about her and what she brings to the Tigers.
Vicky's fearless, and we were actually hopeful to get Vicky 2 seasons ago, and it worked out perfectly to get her this year. These are her first minutes as a collegiate athlete, as a freshman, and I know her family, I know just the quality of European basketball that she's been able to play. And I mean, she defends, she rebounds, she's feisty. We wear those catapult vests. I don't know if you see, she consistently has the highest explosive efforts, the highest output, and I mean, you can't teach effort or heart.
Absolutely. And then what comes with having a roster full of talent, you have to be able to share the ball, and Tigers have been doing that really well. You're averaging over 15 assists per game. We've seen kids pass up open looks to get a better look. And the turnover margin, or turnover ratio, you're +6 in the turnover margin. You've got to be really happy with the way you're sharing the ball and taking care of the ball at the same time.
Of course, definitely point of emphasis on our offense, and credit again, Eric Atkins has been a big part of just putting this 5-out offense in for our program, and I think we can just continue to improve on it.
All right, next up for the Tigers, getting to stay close to home. On Sundays, you'll travel to Catonsville to take on UMBC. 2-2. They're coming off a tight loss to Brown by 2 points. They did beat UVA a week ago. They will play Wednesday today as we're taping. I think they tip off in like 2 hours. But when you look at UMBC, they've got a 3-headed scoring monster so far. What jumps out to you about the Retrievers?
Jay Tillman definitely does. And we actually were, when she was in the portal, very interested. But just at her size, what she can do, their defense, just an extremely well-rounded team. Obviously Gabby Scott had an amazing challenging game versus UVA, and we're no strangers to Gabby's capabilities, but just how hard they play. We know this is going to be an extremely passionate, hard-fought game.
And when you look at UMBC stats, they average over 20, forcing 22 turnovers a game. What stands out to you about what they do defensively? And that obviously it's good that Towson's done a good job taking care of the ball. How much more of an emphasis do you have to put on that? And then what do they do that make it tough to handle the ball?
I think it's a combination of a couple of things. They do throw a couple run and jump presses, but they're schematic in how they defend. So when they played UVA, they were able to take away their leading scorer, Kamora Johnson, by face guarding. Sometimes they send 2 at them. So it's really just them having a pretty good game plan and making other players step up, and hopefully our team will do the same.
At this point in the year for you, obviously you had all summer with them, and now you've played a handful of games, and you do have that depth that we've been talking about. Where's your rotation at? Are you and your staff still at times figuring out, this combination might work? It felt like the other night, Joe Matthews and I commented that there was a group on the court that we had never seen at this point, at least at a home game. Where are you guys with that, and how much more tinkering could you do with the lineups?
Of course, I think I have a solid 8 that are probably all playing in a little more than 10 minutes, but I'm a big believer. You have a week of practice to show why you should be changing, and if someone plays well this week, then I'm going to throw them in there. I think Sharia Baines gave phenomenal defensive present minutes when she went out there, and Laura came in, made a 3, did her job, so it really just depends on any given night.
All right, Coach, thanks for joining us, and good luck at UMBC.
Thank you.
All right, the Tigers will head to Catonsville to take on the Retrievers at 5 o'clock on Sunday. I'll have the call on TowsonTigers.com. For the head coach, Laura Harper, I'm Ben Rosenbaum. Thanks for joining us, and as always, go Tigers.
Go Tigers.